So you say, I know how you feel. No, you don't. I've gone through the same thing. No, you don't. You don't know how I feel. And it's like one obstetrician told me that she said, you know, Deb, was delivering babies, doing C-sections before my husband and I ever had children. She said, when the first pain hit me, I was like, whoa, they didn't tell me it was going to feel like this. So she said, after she went through the experience, and she said, and my first child, long labor, and I had to have a C-section. She said, then I was a better physician.
Wow.
So when a man is attempting in an appropriate manner to encourage, or I'll use the word shepherd, right? Encourage or shepherd a woman, you know, can you wear her shoes? Wear a size 11 and she wears a 7. So you might try wearing her shoes. Yep. Then you come back to her, right? Yep. Then you can come back to her and you can talk and encourage her, because then she gets it that you are understanding how she feels.
Yeah, one of my favorite definitions of empathy that we've seen in our publications is your pain in my heart. So it's not just about imagining the experience, but you actually feel what the person is going through and what's on their plate. And you know, you put the shoes on, you walk that mile, and once you've immersed yourself there, then you can have a conversation that makes sense. So you're so right.
Yeah. So this I want to share. I don't know if you've seen this before.
Not ringing a bell yet.
Okay, let me see if I'll try to be fast so that I can get to. I'm going to stop this share and pull up this YouTube. Okay. Let me see if I can do it. I think I have it. Now, I have to tell you, as I'm pulling up this YouTube, this was done back in 1968.
Okay.
This is a special week. Does anybody know what it is?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
But I'm not doing the screen share. Let me see. How can I do that?
Yeah, I think you go back into the share mode.
Okay, hang on. Let me get back here. Okay. Oh, here it is over here. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
National Brotherhood Week. What's brotherhood? Treat everyone as though he was your brother. And is there anyone in this United States that we do not treat as our brothers?
Now, here's the thing. I want to mention that this was filmed in Iowa. And this is just a shortened version of what this teacher, with her insight, went on to teach, not just to children, but also to adults.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the psychological implications of it. I saw the actual test and the results of it, but I never saw the footage. So this is great.
Okay. So I picked the shorter one. It's a few minutes, but if we listen to what happens with this teacher and her third grade class, I wanted to make sure that they understood racism.
Yeah,
very, very brilliant.
Hold on a minute.
Yes. Who? The black people. Who else? Indians. Absolutely, the Indians. Many places in the United States. How are black people treated? How are Indians treated? How are people who are of a different color than we are treated?
They don't get everything in this world.
Why is that?
Because they're different colors.
You think you know how it would feel to be judged by the color of your skin? Do you think you do? No, I don't think you'd know how that felt unless you had been through it, would you? It might be interesting to judge people today by the color of their eyes. Would you like to try this?
Yeah.
It's like fun, doesn't it? Since I'm the teacher and I have blue eyes, I think maybe the blue-eyed people should be on top the first day. I mean, the blue-eyed people are the better people in this room. Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Blue-eyed people are smarter than brown-eyed people. This is a fact. The brown-eyed people do not get to use the drinking fountain. You'll have to use the paper cups. You brown-eyed people are not to play with the blue-eyed people on the playground. Well, the brown-eyed people in this room today are going to wear collars so that we can tell from a distance what color your eyes are. Ready, Laurie?
Brown-eyed.
She's a brown-eyed. You'll begin to notice today that we spend a great deal of time waiting for brown-eyed people. I don't see the yardstick, do you?
It's going over there. Hey, Miss Knight, you better keep that on your desk so the brown-eyed people get out of hand.
Oh, you think if the brown-eyed people get out of hand, that would be the thing to use? Who goes first to lunch? The blue-eyed people. Blue-eyed people may go back for seconds. Brown-eyed people do not.
Brown-eyed.
Don't you know?
Oh, they're not smart. It seemed like when we were down on the bottom, everything bad was happening to us. The way they treated you felt like you didn't even want to try to do anything. It seemed like Mrs. Elliot was taking our best friends away from us.
What happened at recess? Were two of you boys fighting?
Russell called me names and I hit him in the gut.
What did he call you?
Brown eyes. He always calls us that. Yeah, he always calls us brown eyes.
What's wrong with being called brown-eyed?
It means that we're stupid.
I watched what had been marvelous, cooperative, wonderful, thoughtful children turn into nasty, vicious, discriminating little third graders in a space of 15 minutes. Yesterday, I told you that brown-eyed people aren't as good as blue-eyed people. That wasn't true. I lied to you yesterday. The truth is that brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. Russell, where are your glasses?
I forgot them.
You forgot them. And what color are your eyes?
Blue.
Susan Ginder has brown eyes. She didn't forget her glasses. Russell Ring has blue eyes, and what about his glasses?
He forgot them.
He forgot them. Yesterday we were visiting, and Greg said, "Boy, I like to hit my little sister as hard as I can. That's fun." What does that tell you about blue-eyed people?
They're naughty.
The brown-eyed people may take off their collars, and each of you may put your collar on a blue-eyed person. The brown-eyed people get 5 extra minutes of recess. You blue-eyed people are not allowed to be on the playground equipment. You blue-eyed people are not to play with the brown-eyed people. Brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. They're smarter than blue-eyed people. And if you don't believe it, look at Brian. I use Orton Gilman Phonics. We use the card pack. The brown-eyed children were in the whole class the first day, and it took them 5.5 minutes to get through the card pack. The second day, it took them 2.5 minutes. The only thing that had changed was the fact that now they were superior people. You went faster than I ever had anyone go through the card pack. Why couldn't you get them yesterday? You think the collars kept you?
He's thinking about those colors.
Oh, and you couldn't think as well with the collars on. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. How long did it take you yesterday?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. How long did it take you today?
4 minutes and 18 seconds.
What happened?
One down.
What were you thinking of?
This.
I hate today.
I hate too.
Because I'm blue-eyed. There's nothing, it's not funny, it's not fun, it's not pleasant. This is a filthy, nasty word called discrimination. We're treating people a certain way because they are different from the rest of us. Is that fair?
No.
Nothing fair about it. We didn't say this was going to be a fair day, did we?
No.
And it isn't. It's a horrid day. Okay, you ready? What did you people who are wearing blue collars now find out today?
I know what they felt like yesterday.
I did too. How did they feel yesterday?
Sounds like a dog on a leash. Yeah. Like your tail not up in your prison. Like you're shut it up and you're throwing the key away.
Should the color of some other person's eyes have anything to do with how you treat them?
No.
All right, then should the color of their skin?
No.
Should you judge people by the color of their skin?
No.
When you see a black man or an Indian or someone walking down the street, are you going to say, look at that silly looking thing?
No.
Does it make any difference whether their skin is black or white?
No.
Or yellow?
No.
Or red?
No.
is that how you decide whether people are good or bad? Is that what makes people good or bad? Now you know a little bit more than you knew at the beginning of this week. Okay, now are you back? That feel better? Does the color of the eyes that you have make any difference in the kind of person you are?
I gotta ask you, what do you think?
Yeah, I think my first exposure to it was
I appreciate it.
college course.
Oh,
Not
wait.
familiar with your
Oh
work.
yeah, I think it started your next video. Are you gonna close it out?
Referring to the
I'm
color
sorry.
of their eyes in order
It's
to get some idea, white people, some idea of how
Okay,
it
I don't know
feels
how
to
to
be
stop
treated
it.
unfairly
Hold on
on the
for a
basis of the
Okay.
physical characteristic over which you have no control. I say I use
I
blue
don't wanna
eyes,
do
brown
this
eyes,
when
and
you
anybody
pop
who
this
doesn't have
up.
blue or brown
It's
eyes
still
simply
going.
goes in the low class.
Mhm.
I
Okay, let me
accuse
try to clear
brown-eyed
off.
people who I always put on the top of the
Okay,
You got it?
I think,
Okay.
okay, sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, you're fine. I was saying my first exposure to Jane Elliott's Experiment, that was one of my college courses. I want to say it was a sociology one. But because I, as you mentioned at the outset, majored in speech pathology, my focus at the time was to go into being a teacher. So it was dealing with the implications of prejudice and discrimination are learned behaviors. You're not born that way. But just the fact that in such a short span of time, they got an impression about themselves, and then they were able to flip that the next day as if it didn't exist. You know, it's mind-blowing. And that's part of the reason that I've pursued mindset coaching, because I feel if someone changes the way they think, their entire life changes direction. And it's not something you do once. You really have to work at it day after day after day. And in the beginning, it's so difficult. So I think especially women find themselves overwhelmed because there's, you know, so much on their plate, and they don't have time to do that work and dig inside and change what they're thinking. But when you do, it's worth it. The benefits, that powerful emotion, and then the things that you achieve, no one is successful without thinking it first. So I'm so glad that you shared that.
Absolutely. I'm looking here. One of my slides mentions Charlie on an experience, and I will not use any real names so as to protect the ignorant. Okay. Huge customer, one of those Fortune 50 customers,
Okay.
and I'm on the account team because I'm going to do the implementation, whether it's voice or data services that they need.
Okay.
And the person who's the account manager was very focused,
Mhm.
and she would interact with the person who made decisions as far as signing contracts for this entire city.
Okay.
So she made it a point to walk beyond or walk past the other folks and go directly to his office. Okay. Now, there was a delay in getting a contract signed.
Hmm.
So back at lunch, she said, you know, I don't know how to get through to this guy. And somebody said, well, what are you doing? We're sitting there. Well, I go in and I make an appointment with him, and I show them a proposal, on and on. Well, no, you're going the wrong way. You need to talk to Charlie. Who? You need to go down to the basement,
Mm.
to the parking garage. What? See, Charlie takes care of that particular decision maker's car, picks his clothes up from the laundry, right? Make sure he has his lunch, and if he's working late, Charlie will reset the code so that he doesn't have a problem getting out of the park. Whereas you went the wrong direction, girlfriend. You need to go down to the basement and talk to Charlie. And I thought that goes back to what you and I talked about as far as being acknowledged and appreciated and being treated with dignity. Because that decision maker had, you know how many keys he had? One.
Mm.
Because he had all the keys.
Mm.
Charlie.
There you go.
Right? Often, if we consider, are we treating a person as if we want a relationship with the person,
Mhm.
or are we treating them like an ATM machine? we need to make that decision. Makes a difference. I got to show you another. I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do better this time. I got to show you another. If it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're pulling that one up, I'm
Okay.
going to point out that what you're saying reminds me of Christ's golden rule. And there were other mindsets, ancient philosophies that said, don't do to others what you would not want done to you. But the beauty of Christ's approach was do unto others what you want done to you. So when you switch from the gear of avoidance and fear, and it's proactively doing what you would want, then you're elevating everyone around you. And, you know, this Jane Elliott experience, I feel as if she got into a little bit of trouble because she did it without getting the authorization first, but it was so strong and far-reaching effects, because when you look at many of the movements that are very big right now, it goes back to the same core. You know,
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of how others see you, but how do you perceive yourself? And it also made me think of that Stanford prison experiment that happened in 1971.
Yes.
It's a random group and they split them up and they said, you're a prisoner, you're a guard. And it deteriorated into violence simply because they assumed these roles in their mind.
They couldn't remember they were supposed to do it for 30. Was it 30 days? They couldn't do it, and he was
Couldn't finish it. Couldn't even finish it. So, you know, while you're pulling that up, I'm going to encourage anyone who's here today, go over to newuwell.com and become a member. The intent of it is to ensure that you're given the powerful tools to get away from the fear, the self-limiting anxiety, and the things that make you stay stuck. You know, it starts with how you're thinking. And once you unleash any of these barriers, you will be blown away at what you can do. So what is this video? What's the title of it?
Okay, this is James Taylor. You might think, I don't like his music, but the man's won like 7 Grammys. Seriously. And the name of the song is You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. Now, a little bit of background about this song. This was a song in a show tune back in 1949, a musical, South Pacific.
Right.
At the time, there was so much scrutiny about this particular song, and it's a short song, it's only 2 minutes, 25 seconds, that folks wanted Rodgers and Hammerstein to pull the song. They wouldn't pull it.
Good for them.
They wouldn't pull it. They said, no, we'll pull the show. And the next year, South Pacific won a Pulitzer Prize. Very deep. It goes right in harmony with what you were talking about, as to the challenge of breaking up some of that permafrost. But listen up. Let me see if I can get this one right. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, valid.
Right? Okay. And I think I cut off the other YouTube, so it won't come through. So I use this in the training classes that I've done with corporate folks, because that comes through, this carefully being taught comes through when it comes to zip codes. Maybe you're working in customer service, you're in a call center, you're responsible for getting calls from a particular region. And when you see certain area codes or zip codes, the question is, do you change your approach? You make an assumption about what these people can afford or what their needs are. Thought-provoking, but that's how we start breaking up the permafrost. USC received a $20 million grant to study kindness. One of the folks who graduated, I think it was last year, gave a grant, $20 million to study kindness. And one of the things that I find rewarding is to live by this statement. Every year I make 2 goals on which I work. What run right now is every day look for a way to help at least one person. It's good for me.
Beautiful.
Why is that? Because the endorphins that which are hormones that you receive when you give affect you, whether the other person appreciates it or not. They make you a better person. They just flood your body. Let's feel good. It doesn't make sense that I'm going to give up something. I'm going to give something, it's going to make me feel better. Yeah, that's the way we're made.
Yes,
So
more happiness in giving than receiving.
that's it. The fact that You're always in school, do your homework, and sometimes you learn what not to do.
Amen.
Shorten the learning curve, listen, be downloadable. There are so many older folks, when I mentioned mentors, who have so much that they want to share. In this system, they have forgotten more than we have time to learn. And they're looking for younger folks with whom they can share something. I need my millennials. Tell them, I need them, okay? For many reasons, I need them. And so if we can approach each other from a standpoint of what is it that we have in common. There is an attorney, and I don't have his name now, but who would teach at Yale a class on negotiation, right? And you know what part of the class entails, Yvonne? Finding out how many things you have in common
Beautiful.
with the other person. There's a comedian, James Kennedy, wrote a book. I think the name of the book is Something to Laugh About.
Okay.
One of the things that he asked, okay, what is it that makes a comedian funny? I don't know. What makes a comedian funny? The comedian finds out what they have in common with the audience. It's just like American humor and British humor. Same language, but it's like, you think that's funny? I don't, okay. So he would find out what it is he has in common with the audience. I'll give you an example. Well, I'm fill in the blank. So rather than going to, oh, they're different, he would say, you know what I appreciate about? Because he took his time to study his audience, to do his homework.
Fantastic.
One woman, American woman, was in China. And the title of this slide is Don't Assume. She's shopping in China, this high-end boutique, right? This is several years ago. And these two women who work in the boutique were ragging her in Chinese. It could have been any language, but this just happened to be a language. So she is blonde and blue-eyed, and she goes over to them and in perfect Chinese. You should find out whether or not the person that you're talking about knows your language. She was there to visit her Chinese grandmother. But when you look at her, you wouldn't think that she had anything to do with anybody Chinese, you see? So not assuming and taking everybody from a standpoint, okay, what do we have in common? So we're always in school.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And in corporate America, we were assigned one mentor. And I thought, you know what, the world is diverse. So I was assigned one mentor, and we met by way of phone once a month. And I went and found myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I found Gary. Gary's title was 1, 2, 3 levels above mine. Andrea. Gary was a white guy. Andrea, black woman, and she was a vice president. Lois was a white woman, and she was a vice president in a totally different division.
Nice.
And then Dennis, who was so smart, just scarily smart. And I picked him as a mentor. And then Wendy. So because the world is diverse, I need to expand my knowledge so that I'm in a better way prepared to deal with people.
Absolutely.
Older ones are looking for ones who are willing to listen because they want to share. So here's another thing, accountability. Look what you made me do. No, I didn't make you do anything. That was your choice. So taking accountability for our own decisions and being quick to apologize. Now, well, see, the reason I don't know what was wrong with me that day. That was dumb. I should not have done it. I am so sorry. And the other part of it is, what can I do to make it right?
Ownership.
Right, ownership. This was a sad commentary. One young man, well, he's in his 40s now, and he told his dad, I understand, I didn't hear the conversation, but I understand he told his dad, if you are sick, I will drive the 3 hours to take care of you. I will make sure that you get what you need. but we will never, this is the son's statement, we will never have a father-son relationship. Why? Because the dad didn't take ownership.
Mm.
He didn't wear his son's shoes for the way he treated him when he was young. Now he could fix that. It will take some work on the father's part to fix that. And he's got to be willing to say, you know what? Just be transparent. I was not the father I should have been.
And it's a difficult thing because, again, it's not in our nature. You take it all the way back to the beginning when Adam and Eve had their fallout. When Adam was confronted, he didn't take ownership. He immediately blamed God and the woman you gave me. So it's not too surprising that it's in our DNA to run. But want to live, as you're saying, a more fulfilled, content, happy life. It's key to step up, own up, and accept. You're not always going to do it 100% right, but the best life is about standing back up, brushing yourself off, and keeping moving. So
Exactly. As a brain health coach, Yvonne, one of the things that I've learned is that by looking at, in one of my classes, involved looking at hundreds of pictures of the actual brain. And when I was in school, we were taught that whatever brain cells you were born with, that was it. You couldn't change that. And now science shows, yes, you can.
absolutely.
Changing diet and several things we can do. We're not talking medications, but we can change that. So the DNA, if you will, loads the package, but doesn't have to be what's delivered. The
Amen.
first thing is awareness, and that's why I love the use of music and helping to change the way that we view things. That's an international language, and it is true. So again, that I
Language too. Yeah, music is powerful.
yes, it is. So yeah, you've got the DNA, whatever it is, but that doesn't have to be what's delivered in that package. Skills are transferable. My three favorite subjects are chemistry, makes my pupils dilate. Chemistry, decorating, and human behavior.
Yes.
And folks say, okay, what's it? Some colors you don't put together. And if you do, you don't put them together in the same intensity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some people let them have a distance. There is a group of people, the Tassadai Indians, T-A-S-A-D-A-Y, looks like Tassadai. And the question was asked, they were in the hunting and gathering stage. What do you do when children fight? I said, we separate them. What do you do if they fight again? We separate them. What do you do if adults fight? And you know what they say through an interpreter? Adults don't fight. It's like, okay. So the idea is to learn to look for things that we have in common, not apart. You have $1. I asked you to bring. You have any money? You have any currency, Yvonne? You got a dollar bill?
Actually, not immediately, but there's something on it you wanted me to take a look at? Because I never carry cash. I'm one of those people.
Oh, right. But I want everybody to imagine. Pull out a paper bill. It doesn't matter what denomination, and just feel. Can you just imagine the feel of a paper bill?
Okay.
20 or whatever it is, $1. This goes back to saying thank you. You have a job interview, okay? And even if it's now by way of Zoom, thank you note. I mentioned earlier that technology.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Crane, C-R-A-N-E, Crane Stationery. Crane.com is a company that prints U.S. currency. They've been in business for 250 years.
Okay.
Okay. Paul Revere used Crane Stationery.
That's mind blowing.
The U.S. currency is printed by that company, Crane. So when you think about just a regular piece of paper versus a card that's written on Crane Stationery, and I'm not doing a thing, but maybe I should call them and say, look, I'm advertising your company. But it makes a difference because of the tactile stimulation that we get from,
Look at that.
yeah, the value, the increased value. So if somebody sends you a gift, and now folks are doing the Zelle thing or, you know, or whatever, send a written note. I think about you, like I said, every time now that I see your website or I think about our conversation, you know, and anticipating our getting together, I can't help thinking about, because you put that brand in my head of you know, you're in flight, you're happy, you've got so much energy. It's obvious that you wouldn't be jumping like that out on the beach if you were sincere. So,
Well, you know, the brief time we've shared, I see it in you as well. And, you know, I wanted to go back to a point that you made about the people portfolio to make sure that you're diversifying.
yes.
I think because my parents taught me so early on how essential that is. It just so happened because Dad enlisted when I was 2, and then I'm in Germany, and at the age of 6, I meet my husband. He was 9 at the time. Now, of course, we didn't know we'd end up married, but we called ourselves Puppy Love from that very first day. We ended up studying with the same couple. They were childless, but they loved children, and they ended up being featured in a yearbook as well. It didn't really go into detail about their location at the time, because they were working in a country that's under ban, but just the fact that they had grown so much in their love for giving. But the main takeaway for me in Germany was the ability to associate closely with Holocaust survivors. So, you know, here I am, not even in my teens at that particular time, but being close friends with people who went through such torturous, extreme elements, and yet were the happiest people that I knew, because their worship got them to be forgiving. They weren't bitter or resentful. They didn't stay stuck on the injustices of what they faced in the past. They were grateful to still be here. And you know, that point you made about the older ones sharing their stories and their legacy, because there's so much that can be learned from someone who's faced adversity and come out on top. So, you know, this is also a personal invite to anyone who's listening that knows someone that needs to share their story. You know, I really want to be an advocate to get that out, because you're right. There's a lot of wisdom and pearls and gems that we need. And it's all kind of buffered and quieted by the stresses of today. But I think it's beautiful when that can come out, it can be celebrated. I did have just 2 questions more for you if you had a few minutes.
I looked at the clock. I'm like, ooh, we want to, okay.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. If it's fine by you. So the first one is, what do you think? Do you choose your calling, or does your calling choose you?
I gotta think about that. So many things that I've done have, quote, I thought, fell in my lap, but in retrospect, no. I think we have choice, so something can come to you, but you can turn it down.
Okay.
And it's like going into a museum. Every time I go into the same museum, I look at the paintings and I see something I didn't see before. So I've grown. So maybe part of that is growing into, quote, my calling. But that's a really good question.
Well, you know, like I always say, there's no wrong answer. It's just getting perspective.
You're making me think. Part of it is there, but you can accept it or turn it down.
Agreed. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I got it. Okay, you got me, girl.
It's okay. Just one more.
I'm scared now. Okay.
It's okay. This is a fun one. So let's imagine that we could jump in a time machine and you could go back as far back as you want. And you have just 2 minutes to confront your younger self. Deb, what are you saying?
Don't waste time.
Mm.
Don't waste time.
It goes fast, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. You asked me that, and it is a sobering question. One of the women whom I want to meet, is Huldah. Huldah, Huldah. And I think about the time when she lived and women were not viewed as worthy. I mean, that was a challenge, right? You mentioned Adam, and of course that is in that whole cultural piece. But what was beautiful is that when they were trying to make a decision in the nation of Israel, everybody said, look, ask Huldah. Go to Huldah. I'm thinking, wow, okay. Yeah.
The power that she owned, even in an environment where typically very normal.
So she had to learn rather than to look from side to side. You do need to do that so as to drive in a defensive way, but she had to learn to look up.
Amen.
Right? She had to learn to look up. And that's an everyday challenge for me. And it's good to learn to look up and to be reminded, right? Acknowledge who you are, the things that you need to change, and be around folks who are smarter than you are, folks from whom you can learn. And it's either I'm teaching you or you're teaching me or we're teaching each other.
Mutual exchange, symbiosis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So several other things, but you tell me, we can stop now and I'm good.
Well, if any of our listeners want to get in touch with you, if they want to continue the conversation, what's the best way? I'm going to make sure it's included in the description for the video, but do you have a certain means? Is it email? What's ideal?
Why don't we do the email at art and health awareness? That's a long email. Art and health awareness at Gmail.
Okay. No, I'll make sure it's included so they can open up and click on it. And we are so honored and privileged that you took the time out of your very, very tremendous schedule and you came through and you shared your wisdom. We wish you all the best as you continue giving and growing. You didn't get where you are by accident. So wishing you many, many more blessed experiences. And thank you for all our listeners for tuning in. We know there's other places you could have been, but you came to the right place. And we're going to ask that you give a little more love. Let the ones that are in your life know just how important they are. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to share this video and like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at New You Wow. Until next time, stand tall in your power and remember, your belief in yourself is your superpower.